You're online.
Welcome to the 12/29/20 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting of the Town of Raymond. The Zoning Board of Appeals will come to order. The board does have a quorum. I'm now going to ask the members that are here to state their name. Why don't you start, Joanne?
Joanne Stinson.
Rick?
Rick Welch.
Mary?
I'm not a member of the board, but Mary Quirk, recording secretary.
You're a big part. And I'm Len Sorelli. This is a public proceeding, and unless the board specifically votes to go into executive session, you have the right to hear everything that is being said and to look at all of the exhibits that are presented. Please notify the chair if you are unable to see or hear. The board works from a published agenda and will be considering tonight's items in the following order. We have an interview applicant for a board membership. We have a public hearing for Nicole Starlett, a conditional use variance, and an applicant, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this right, Laura Sigri and Valami Lai on a lot size variance. In each instance, the burden is upon the applicant to demonstrate compliance with the provisions of the applicable ordinances or state law. After the board votes on the merits of each application, it will prepare a written notice of decision. Because the notice of decision may substantially affect any appeals rights, and also as a matter of courtesy, the board asks that those attending the meeting with regards to a specific application not leave until the board has completed its decision. Generally speaking, appeals from adverse decisions must be filed with the Supreme Court as otherwise provided by law within 45 days of this board's decision. Also, to be certain that you preserve your individual right to file any such appeal, you must be certain that the board's record evidences your appearance this evening in opposition and the basis for your opposition. Now, we're on Zoom tonight, so we don't have a podium, so we'll just ask that every person speaking give their name, address, and affiliation with the applicant, for, opposed, or neutral. All persons speaking shall direct all remarks or questions to the chairman. The meeting is not over until the board is formally adjourned. Any discussion not included on the meeting agenda or accepted by the board is to be held until after adjournment or conducted outside the meeting room. Any questions, anyone? All right, let's get down to business. The first order of business is we have an application for David Murch, who would like to join the Board of Appeals. So David, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is David Murch. I am a Raymond resident for 20 years. Recently, I've been looking to invest into the community. Have been doing that through an election clerk volunteer opportunities. I had originally had interest in joining the zoning board back when Louise originally applied, and I heard that she was going to do it. So at that point, I didn't decide to pursue any further. But then when Louise stepped down, I decided it would be a good opportunity to once again think about being on the board and move forward with that application.
David, can you attend all meetings which are normally held on the last Tuesday of the month, and site walks what are normally held a week before the actual meeting?
Yeah, there's nothing in my normal schedule, either personal or work, that would interfere with either of those.
Now, you've been a clerk, a voting clerk, and you obviously know a lot of people in town. I hope that you realize that sometimes we have to make decisions that are unfavorable and upset people. Can you handle that?
Yeah, I know less people than you probably think, but yeah, no, I recognize that, this board is it's pseudo judicial, so it's, it's important to, review the ordinances and ensure that you're following what they state or a proper interpretation of them. So yeah, I recognize that doesn't always win popularity contests.
Okay. Board members, do you have any questions for David?
Just a quick one, Len, if I may. David, thank you very much for stepping up to the plate here. And I can honestly say I've done some volunteer work with David, and I speak very highly of him. He's a quick learner. He's very interested. He gets engaged, and it seems like he makes sure to, like he said, study and understand kind of processes. And I truly believe that he will do the same thing on the Board of Appeals. And David, I saw what you wrote regarding the responsibility of the board. And can you, in your own words, just a brief, how do you see the workings of the board? How do you see your role?
My role, I guess,
Do you want me to bring the phone
and
number at that point? Or
a little bit of feedback here.
Yeah, because
Not feedback.
people want to start to begin on that.
okay.
So I would certainly view my role as ensuring that you clearly hear what I am thinking in terms of what is being presented, not only through the ordinances, but if a petitioner is there to present something, making sure to ask the right questions, because it's important. You're trying to look at ordinances. You're trying to ensure that the petitioner has made a request and that they've provided all the right information. So just ensuring that we're coming to the correct decision, at least as a board. And then my responsibility in that is to let you know where I'm coming from, and recognizing that we may not all come to the same conclusion, but at least it's important for you to hear my perspective, where I'm coming from and how I view the ordinances and what I'm hearing from other people, my interpretation of that, so that we all as a board can come to, a decision that, even again, if we're not unanimous in it, at least it's one that we've all, taken a vote in and had a chance to have a say in. I hope that answers the question.
It does. Thank you very much. Good, Len.
Rick, do you have any questions?
No, not at this time.
Thank you very much, David, for coming down, and your application does look really good. So I would like to make a motion to allow David to go take the next step, which would be to go before the Board of Selectmen to get formal approval to join the board.
Second that.
Then it passes. And I'm sure Mary can fill you in on the next steps.
All right.
It'll be good to have you.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
I'll pass you on to the capable hands of Sue Look.
Okay.
She'll take it from there and get you on board.
All right. Appreciate it, everyone. I thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna stick around and listen in on this. So,
You're more than welcome.
all right. Thank you.
Okay. The next piece of business that we have to discuss is a conditional use variance for Nicole Starrett, 402 Webb Mills Road. Nicole, why don't you go ahead and speak?
Okay. Thank you. As you said, my name is Nicole Starrett. For those of you that don't know me, my husband Ben and I have lived at 402 Webb's Mills Road for the last 5 years or so. And my husband owns his own business. It's a landscaping and excavation and snow removal business. We do quite a bit of work around the town. You may have seen his trucks, maybe not. So we are applying for this conditional use permit to be allowed to continue operating as a contractor from our property, which involves vehicle storage and a few coverets up, down, back, and equipment, just a little bit different than what a typical homeowner would have. The this process was brought to our attention this year by Alex. We had an issue with the neighbor who has since moved. And talking to our other neighbors, we don't have any other issues that we're aware of with anyone else. So I don't know how much information you'd like me to provide, but we're just a small business trying to put food on our table for our family and be allowed to continue doing what we're doing.
Can you tell us a little bit about how it's laid out, like your house, and then you have
Sure.
a lot in the background where you keep your equipment?
Yes, yeah. So we have a really weird shaped lot. Our house sits up by the main road on a very small triangular piece. That's our lawn, and then it opens up into a big field area down back. And this kind of a large rectangular area. It used to be a Christmas tree farm, as far as I'm aware, back, I don't know, 60s, 70s, 80s maybe. I'm not exactly sure when. And when we bought the property, there were still Christmas trees down there that were about 60 to 70 feet tall. We've since cleared those diseased trees and leveled the area. So in that rectangular area down back, we have probably a quarter of it is cleared completely, and we have trucks and excavators, loaders, equipment down there, along with 3 coverets. I believe there was a sketch included with my application. And then the other areas, there's a small pond and some rough area and another small parking area.
I want to go over my concerns here.
Sure.
Joanne, do you have any questions while I'm thinking?
Sure, absolutely. And I can just quickly say we did conduct a site walk on the 19th at 9 a.m. And Len and I were there, and we had just a few neighbors came out, and it was great. The Sterretts walked us around. It was good to see the layout of the property. As Nicole mentioned, it's a little different. So we walked by the house, and everything was down in the far back, where we did see some green storage units. We saw construction vehicles. And I think that was pretty much it. You know, a few comments just were made that eventually they may consider adding or requesting to add more storage units or possibly a permanent building, but that's, you know, obviously something they have to go through the proper permitting to do any of those. So as far as questions, Nicole, how many employees? Is it just the 2 of you?
No, my husband has 3 full-time employees that report to work here every day.
3 full-time plus him?
Yes, plus him, and his father works for him part-time occasionally.
Okay. So is that both of you are in the business? So what I say, that's 5
Yeah,
full-time?
I'm an unpaid employee. I do the office work, but I also have a full-time job at Dielectric.
Oh my goodness. Okay, we'll say 4 then, to be fair. And can you just tell me again how many construction vehicles and what they are?
Sure. Let's see. I just have to run through them in my brain. Hang on just a second. So we have 2 large dump trucks and 1 kind of medium dump truck. It's like a 7-yard dump truck. It's smaller, like what would be used for plowing roads. We also have a total of 3 pickup trucks, 2 excavators, a Komatsu loader, and 2 tractors. I think I got everything. Oh, we have a skid steer also. There's a lot of it down there, and it's not always on site, so I forget what's down there sometimes.
Okay. What is it that you store there in the green storage unit?
2 of the green storage units are used primarily for business storage. We have the tractors in one of them and other attachments for the pieces of equipment. The 3rd is used to store our personal camper and boat.
Okay. And do customers come to your home for this business, or is this all just you going out to customers?
We very rarely will have a customer here. Normally it's on site at the customer's residence or wherever the project is located.
And then just a brief Well, do you guys operate how many days a week?
Typically just Monday through Friday. Occasionally for snow plowing and such, it'll be on the weekends.
Uh, And that's obviously snow plowing at a customer's site.
Right, right.
And then what are the comings and goings at your business on a day-to-day, a normal day?
On a normal day, our crew will typically arrive around 7 a.m. Monday through Friday. They get set up and get their instructions for the day. Then they typically leave, go to whatever site they're working on, and then return at the end of the day, which could be anywhere from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m., depending on what the project that they're working on is. And then for plowing, it's whenever it's snowing, they show up, they grab their trucks, they go. So they're not on site here a lot.
That's it, Len, for me. Thank you.
Thank you. How about you, Rick? Any questions?
The only questions that I had were gonna be, I assume there's gonna be no crushing, no screening, nothing like that that would be involved in a pit location.
Oh no, not on this site. Absolutely not.
Okay. That was my biggest concern.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we do have equipment, but we try to keep the noise level to a minimum as we can.
Right.
I understand, neighbors are close and we want to respect everyone as much as we can.
Nicole, during the site visit, it was mentioned that perhaps in the future you'll run electricity down there.
Yes.
So at that point, you could start the trucks down there instead of
Yes.
right next to your
we do have the plow truck that my husband uses primarily. We do leave next to the house and have it plugged in. And when we get power down there, that will be contained to the back lot and won't be up by the house anymore.
Okay. Nicole, the Board of Appeals has the power to approve or deny all conditional uses and variances. I'd like to read to you from the minimum standards clause. It says the applicant shall have the burden of proving that his or her application is in compliance with the requirements of this ordinance. And then it goes on to list 10 things that you have to comply to about the ordinance, regarding the ordinance. Now, we could go through all 10 and kind of vote on them. But I think the first one alone is going to be an issue, and I'll read that to you. The conditional use will not depart from the general purpose and intent of the ordinance, nor from the town's comprehensive plan. I don't think you can get around that at this point. What do you think?
Can you expand? I'm not really fluent on these ordinances. I don't know.
Okay, well, let me
What does that mean?
will not generate noise, vibrations, fumes, odors, dust, or glare which are detectable at the lot boundaries. And all aspects of the conditional use will be carried on within the structure.
Okay.
I
Like I said, I mean, you're right. It is difficult to.
It's difficult to get around the way the ordinance is written.
Is written, correct. Like I said, I mean, we do our best to respect our neighbors and everybody around us, but I understand that the nature of our work isn't always quiet.
I have a statement that I'd like to read to you guys. The Zoning Board of Appeals members have the difficult task of interpreting the town ordinances. The board must, at the same time, look at the big picture while staying within the ordinance guidelines to do what is best for the citizens of Raymond and our town. The Starretts have been maintaining their landscape and snow blowing business for over 5 years with no issues. In this case, it is my opinion, it's clear that this procedure is outside the conditional use ordinance. Therefore, it is my duty as chairman and all board members to look at the factors pertaining to the conditional use ordinance. At this time, where there is a pandemic, many people are forced to work from home or even be out of work. We're all experiencing rules and regulations that we don't like, but we go along with it because it's the right thing to do to protect our town and citizens. I'd like to make a motion that the conditional use appeal for the Starretts be tabled for at least 2 months. At that time, it is my hope that the Starretts could work with their neighbor and the town to perhaps find a resolution to this issue. Maybe, for example, running the electricity down in the back and things of that nature. I'm sure there's ways. Perhaps you could speak to that neighbor one-on-one. I'm sure there are ways this could be worked out. So that's my motion. Can I get a second?
Could we hold the motion, Len? I just a comment to that, and we can do it now, a board discussion. Before we do that, I'm just wondering if there's anyone who's opposed to this, anyone to speak in favor. Just like to hear how the residents feel about the current situation, if there's anyone to speak on that.
That's a good point.
I have 4 calls waiting. I don't know if they're calling on this application or the next one. I can screen them now and find out.
Okay.
While she's doing that, could I say one additional thing? I know that we had a particular neighbor that had an issue with our operations, but that neighbor has since moved. They live on the other side of town, as far as I know. And the people that have moved in there don't have an issue and have told us as such. They don't have an issue with our operations here.
Caller?
My name's Tom Hennessy. I live in Raymond,
Yes.
down the road a bit.
Mr.
from
Hennessy,
Oak Mill Road.
are you calling about the Starrett application?
I wasn't originally, but I know of their operation at the Starrett.
Do you want to comment?
I guess my comment is it's been there for 5 years and only one neighbor has offered an opinion and has now moved. I think they should be allowed to continue their operation but not expand it, possibly.
The board have anything to add to this? Any questions for the caller?
I don't.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Len.
I have no questions.
I wanted just to clarify, do you live nearby the Starretts or?
I do not live nearby, but I go by it and it's right across from the town office.
Okay.
Shall I invite the next caller?
Go ahead.
Caller, are you calling about
I'm calling about the second agenda item.
Okay, I will put you on hold for now.
Thank you.
Caller, about which application are you calling?
The current issue.
All right. Please proceed. Caller, about which application are you calling?
Yeah, I think there's I'm watching it on my computer, so I think there's a delay, so I'm just going to mute that. Hang on 1 second. There's a delay, so I'm just going to that. 1 second. So yeah, I think I'm live now. Yeah, so my family just moved into the abutting property where I believe the complainant previously lived. And we were at the site walk and everything, and I just wanted to speak that, you know, we moved here assuming that business was in place legitimately already, and, you know, knowing that, we still purchased the property, and that we appreciate the fact that they do try to operate the equipment during business hours, and we haven't found that to be disruption at all for us, and that we don't have any objections to what they're doing at this point, for what that's worth.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any questions, anybody for him?
Thank you. No.
All right, I have one more caller. Caller? Hello?
Yes, I was referring to the next item with the church conversion.
Oh, all right, then we will proceed. We'll bring you
Okay.
back in later.
Okay, thanks.
And Mary, you did send out a letter from a Mr. John, I hope I pronounced his last name right.
Yes,
John Levitry, maybe? Levitre. And he is opposed
yes, he is.
to the,
And he would like his letter read into the record.
okay, it's fairly long, but I will read it. I hope I have the whole thing. I, John Levitry, and my spouse Louise live at 370 Webb Mills Road, Raymond, Maine, for the last 16 plus years, and are sole owners of both lots 21 and 21A. The reason for the purchase of this property was our desire to live in rural Maine and be owners of a property that would allow us the life we sought. We have enjoyed the solitude our 33 acres allows us. The property has given us natural beauty, peace, and a home we feel would meet the needs and wants of our family. It has met our needs splendidly. Postmarked December 9th, the town of Raymond Zoning Board of Appeals sent notice of a walk as follows, that we would walk the property. Having read the Starlight request for zoning variance and spoken to Mary Quirk and the Zoning Board of Appeals regarding current property zoning and the appeals process, our family has decided not to support the Starlight appeal. Our reasons include, but are not limited to, current zoning for the Starlight property does not allow for this type of use currently being engaged in the site. Heavy equipment noise, decrease in property value, destruction of habitat, and the rural residential appeal. The Starrett's request states that they were unaware of any concerns regarding the use of their property, strains credibility on their claim of lack of concern regarding the property. Property development seems to be on the quick uptick given all the heavy truck activity and Jake brake use on Route 85, Webb Mills Road. Going forward, the allure of Raymond can be devastated by a governmental zoning creep that will be hard to reverse when trying to decide the next time someone wants to add industrial commercial use to a property zone residential. Heavy equipment storage and multiple vehicles in zoning RR. While I am sensitive to the Starrett situation, there was no question regarding the zoning of lot 0207/000 as zone RR at the time of purchase or now. I have never been approached to the current application relative to my feelings or abutters' feelings regarding their intended use of the property. I must therefore conclude that they, the Starlets, feel justifies its owners to proceed. Again, the property is zoned RR. The question remains, why do the Starlets feel they are proper in this request other than the appeal is available for conflict resolutions? Sadly, because of my current health status, I was unable to attend the site walk. My apologies, unavoidable. However, it is critical to my objection to this appeal. I do have a representative who would do a site walk and advocate for us if necessary. Hopefully, the Starlets will find a solution to their problems that will address not only their wants and desires, but consider the relationship to the town of Raymond and their neighbors. Any questions or comments on the letter?
No, I wish he'd called in because I have a lot of questions. Because it sounds like they have lived there for a long time, so they'd be really good to talk to. And it sounds like things have gone well. So I'm a little confused if these are concerns that may arise, but none of these concerns have arisen in the last 5 years that they've been in operation. I feel badly that there's not more clarification to that.
I do too. And I'm not even 100% sure if these people are actual abutters.
They did receive an abutter notice.
They did, okay. Well, that clears that up.
Mike, can I ask a couple more questions?
Sure, go right ahead.
Your point is very appropriate regarding under conditional uses, that it will not generate noise, vibration, fumes, odors, dust, or glare which are detectable at the lot boundaries. And I'm not sure, I'm not convinced that's happening. However, when it says in all aspects of the conditional use will be carried on within the structure, if I read that literally, I mean, it's all outdoor, but it's literally getting in vehicles and driving away. Just a comment, that's just my comment on that. And just, I also wanted to bring up just something we can think about, is that under Article 4 district regulations, when you look at the rural residential district, RR, it says the intent is the town of Raymond recognizes that certain areas of the town will experience residential growth due to rapid population growth in the region. It's the intent of this ordinance to allow these uses while maintaining the basic rural orientation of the community. So, but also keeping in mind what you had read. And under permitted uses, it's various things that this doesn't fall under, but conditional uses that can be considered, one of them are contractors. And that's not having more than 5 vehicles and pieces of equipment that are not screened from view. So that is something we'd have to think about right there, which it sounds like there's more than that. So they would have to be screened if we were to consider that from surrounding properties in the street. When a piece of equipment is located on a trailer or a truck, the combination is considered one. So I'm just noting that it is something we can consider. But I think the only thing I'm bothered by is if the use is carried on within the structure. And the business, the actual conducting of the business is occurring at their customers' homes, not at the residence.
I struggled with that too. And my interpretation was that when they refer to the structure, I thought they were referring to running that business out of the structure of their home. That's just my thought.
Can I comment on the screened from view wording? When we cleared our lot down back, we left a natural buffer around the perimeter of that rectangular section that was supposed to serve as the natural screen of that area. It doesn't define, or at least I couldn't find anywhere in the town ordinance where it defined what that screen needed to be and whether or not it needed to be screened 365 days a year. During the summer, there's a very big difference looking at the lot. In the summer, you can't see anything down there. Whereas in the winter, now with all the leaves gone, you can see some of the equipment from the road. So I wanted to mention that.
Thank you. If you notice too on the letter that I just read, the bottom paragraph, I just misplaced it, but he says something about, oh, here it is, wait a minute. That you would find a solution to the problem that will address not only their wants and desires, but consider their relationship to the town of Raymond and their neighbors. So I think he's opening the door there for perhaps you two to talk about this together. So you can think about that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. I've never met them personally, and I didn't know that they had an issue with our property until right now. So I would be happy to discuss anything with them.
Joanne?
Yeah, Len, can I ask Alex the question at this point?
Yes. Go ahead.
Alex, I'm wondering if we were to consider what Len has mentioned about tabling this for a while because people are working from home or whatnot. However, don't they need some sort of permit to continue running this business? I mean, can we leave it undone like that, or?
Yeah, so that's a good question. This is kind of a 3-step process. You guys are the first stop for them. It is the contractor conditional use is allowed in this zone if the ZBA approves it. So you're step 1. If you guys approve the conditional use, then they need to actually go through site plan. And that could either be with the town planner and myself or with the planning board. And there's pretty specific and pretty intense criteria that they need to meet. Stormwater, buffering, parking, all sorts of things that would be, discussed and figured out at that stage in the process. And then once they get that, they would actually need to get a building permit for any of the structures. So, we're at step 1. This did come about from a citizen complaint in September, I believe, that actually came in. And a notice of violation was issued to the Starretts for the operation, for the use that's taking place. So they are currently in violation. So that notice was given with a 30-day time period that they had to bring their property into compliance. And so what that meant is they could either remove all the structures and stop using the lot as the contractor use, or they could start the process to legalize it after the fact. So obviously that's the option that they've gone with, because they do want to continue to do the business and stay in Raymond. So by submitting the after the fact application to you guys, they effectively are stopping the clock. If this were to go to court, fines are typically assessed from the date of the first notice of violation, and that can accumulate over a period of time. What usually would happen is, if there are time periods where they're doing their due diligence and making sure that they're following through the process like they are right now, then we kind of stop the clock. So I don't know, I think the idea of tabling and waiting a couple of months, the violation would continue to stay open. But really, there's no path forward for them that doesn't involve a consent agreement with the select board or possible legal action that doesn't involve you guys approving the conditional use. You're kind of the first gate for them.
Joanne?
Alex, if we found that this could pass our step and it went on, like they couldn't meet the intense screening they have to go through with the planning board or the selectmen, what happens to the conditional use that we've okayed for this property?
Well, you've approved it, and that approval could have a time period on it. you could say, for example, you could condition the approval on them obtaining site plan approval within a year, which is what I would suggest. That gives them a time period that they need to go through the process, and you know, it's going to require some minor engineering, probably for the stormwater, for the large, you know, driveway that comes down in there and the cleared area. So, you know, you could ask, or you could condition the approval if you approved it on, you know, that, and you could add in some other stuff if you want to, you know, that you really have, you know, the opportunity to do that. And, you know, the other thing, the point that you guys are kind of stuck on, where it needs to take place within the structure. I mean, you could possibly try and add a condition on there that, you know, the lots to be used just for storage of these structures, and maybe they all need to be, or vehicles, maybe they all need to be stored within, you know, a structure, whether it's a temporary carport or a permanent garage. Maybe that's something that can be discussed as well, so that they are truly screened, because if they're stored within something, then they're definitely considered screened, you know, from abutters and from the lot lines.
Any more questions, Joanne?
I think that's, yeah, I guess just, supposedly, well, it says in the ordinance that conditional use is passed with the land. Are we able to override that so that we could say, once this family had ceased conducting the business? I know there's a certain period of time that conditional use, I think after 2 years of not utilizing that, it would delete itself. But can we put any such thing in there that if they stop operation of the business, the conditional use will now be void?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you could probably add a condition on here that if they were to, you know, cease business for 2 years, that, you know, that conditional use approval expires. Whether or not you can do that, I'm not exactly sure, but it's something we could always verify with legal before, you know, we move forward, if that's something you guys wanted to consider.
And just to explain, Len and Rick, my thinking on that is, I get the impression, and this is my personal feeling from listening to all this and all the neighbors that came through the site walk, it doesn't sound like this is a disruptive business. Business is conducted at the customer's sites. They're there loading up their trucks, getting ready to go, and they go and they do their business. I'm not, again, I know we got the letter from Mr. Levitri and his wife, but there's a lot of questions open to that. It still isn't convincing me that there's currently, the way the business is being run is troublesome to them. It's what might happen, it sounds like. So with the proper conditions, and that it's an allowable conditional use, if certain criteria are followed that we could set, just my thinking was, you know, they run this business, but I don't feel like that property should forever now be commercialized. That was my thought on that. So,
Well, we could approve it with conditions, time limits, etc. You want to make a motion?
I can't.
Because you can
Mr.
word
Chairman,
it better than I can.
Mr. Chairman, have we closed public comment?
I'm sorry, Mary, I didn't get that.
Have we closed public comment?
You have no more.
I have 3 callers sitting here. I think I know which one was commenting on this particular.
Okay, I didn't realize that. Yeah, we should.
But I think he'd already commented, but I didn't know if you wanted to hear additional comments or you wanted to close public comment.
Let's hear it.
Let's see. Caller, did you want to make further comment?
Yes, this is the original first caller, Tom Hennessy.
Proceed.
Okay. After hearing all the discussion, it sounds like if they were to put up some sort of screening to pacify the abutting neighbor, if he is a abutter, that that seems to be the crux of the problem. If they planted Christmas trees or something else that would screen their trucks from the other property, would that be a solution?
I don't know. I don't know. You know, if you think about where their home is, you know, right on 85 there, across from the town hall and the Will Fire Station and all that. I mean, trucks go by there constantly. They're pulling into the town office. They're going down the Egypt Road. So, you know, I just don't see where the Star It's One truck is such an issue at this time.
And this is the phone caller. I agree with that. On top of that, the town office has traffic, but also the town maintenance facility has all sorts of trucks and ambulances,
right,
and fire trucks coming in and out of that place.
Which is basically directly across the street, pretty much.
Caller, have you further comment?
No, I can wait because I'd like to speak about the church thing coming up.
All righty. Let me check with the other callers. Thank you.
Hi, I don't have any comment. I'm waiting for the other agenda item.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could that be the president lady?
Caller, did you have any comments on this appeal?
No, I'm waiting for the church transition.
All right, thank you. Mr. Chairman, that appears to be all the public comment.
Yes. Close.
Len, a question?
Go ahead.
Would you like to pull back your motion, or is that still on the table?
I'd like to.
Well, we can vote on it if you'd like.
I guess we could pull it back and add some conditions to it and then vote on it. You know,
I'm happy to make another motion if yours is off the table at this point.
All right, I'll take mine off the table. You go ahead.
Okay. I would like to make a motion to accept the appeal by the Starretts for a conditional use permit for a contractor business in the rural residential zone due to Article 4 district regulations allowing conditional uses of a contractor. With that, it would be under the conditions that they follow through and are approved through the site plan process, all of the processes that Alex had spelled out through the town, that as it states, that not more than 5 vehicles and pieces of equipment are not screened from neighboring properties. And if this is possible, that if the Starretts business ceases operation for 1 full continuous year, that the conditional use would be voided.
I would second that.
And is there any I don't know if there's any comment, Rick, on that?
Oh, I totally agree with what you just said. I really think they ought to be allowed to continue what they're doing there. They're not causing an issue.
No,
They're not working there on site. I totally agree with that.
I think, Len, you need to put it to a vote. And
let's vote on Joanne's motion to approve the conditional use variance with certain stipulations. Those in favor, raise their hand. There's no one here to be against it, so the motion passes. Okay,
Thank you so much.
you welcome.
thank you.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the next order of business, which is Laura Segree and Valami Lai. They're looking for a lot size variance for 584 Webb Mills Road, which is the old church, as we know. And let me get my paperwork on that. And they're looking for a lot size variance. And it'll be a substantial variance. Is anyone who's here that's going to speak to this applicant, to this application? Is it you, Tom?
Yes, hi, good evening.
Hi.
Tom Farmer, I'm a landscape architect in Yarmouth. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. And tonight I do have Laura Segree is with me tonight. Her sister Val is working, so she wasn't able to join. Laura and Val, like I said, are sisters. They purchased this property together with the understanding that it could have a duplex. The previous owner is a realtor, and he did gain approval for a duplex unit. And we noticed, they noticed also on the tax card that it shows it as a 2-unit parcel. But then, they were talking to me, and we were looking at it, and it appeared that approval had lapsed. So that's our main reason we're back here tonight. That was 2 years ago that the previous owner, Justin Hayward, received that approval. It was a little over 2 years, so that lapsed. It was a 2-year time frame. So we're back. We're requesting approval for 2 units on this parcel. And within your packets, there's a site plan that shows it's kind of a conceptual plan at this point because they don't have your blessing yet, but they're looking at 2 kind of identical units with parking in the middle, shared parking lot in the middle. The leach field was previously approved as one long chamber across the back because the previous owner was going to keep the existing structure and renovate it, remodel it into 2 units. But they've talked to some structural engineers and they just don't feel like it's worth keeping that existing structure. So they want to take that down. That existing structure, by the way, is about 4,700 square feet, and they're proposing 2 units at about 908 square feet each. So the footprint alone is being reduced by about 60%, over half of what currently exists. Do you guys have the site plan?
I do.
That shows that it's behind me here. That
Right.
shows 2 units. Okay, good. So they're pretty small units. Like I said, about 908 square feet. That includes the front porch, the open porch on the front. We wouldn't be going any closer to Webb's Mills Road, nor would we be going any further toward the sidelines. We'd be reducing the footprint in the rear from currently it's about 15 feet to the existing structure. We'd be going to about 31 feet, and we'd be leaving about 37 feet open in the middle. So it's going to be a lot less intrusive, I guess. Certainly not more unconforming. It's more conforming, if anything. But it is a smaller lot. The lot size is only 8,712 square feet. And in this zone, it's a 2-acre zone, but the zone does allow for duplex units if you had the 2 acres. I think that's really about it. We did receive some of his other permits had lapsed also, like the entrance permit onto the main Department of Transportation road. So we did receive a new permit from the DOT for the entrance. We would have to resubmit the septic design, but this septic design is actually more conforming. It's basically taking the one long chamber that went across the entire back and still has the same setbacks from the property lines and the building, 15 feet from the building and 5 feet from the side setbacks. But it actually increases the distance to their well, to their proposed well on their site, which is down in the north corner of the lot. Previously it was, I want to say it was like 60 feet to the well, and now it's 90. Find it. Yeah, 90 feet to the owner's well, and about the septic tank would be 80 feet to the owner's well instead of 50. So it's overall, we think it's more conforming and more compliant than what was previously approved, and also it's going to be brand new construction. So we think it's going to be an investment in the neighborhood and really help the aesthetics of the neighborhood. I know that church has been abandoned for many years. It's getting to the point where it's almost falling in now. So with that, I'll turn it over to the board.
Is there
for questions?
I have a question really for Alex. Alex, is this a duplex or is it 2 units? Everything I read says they have to be attached to be called a duplex, and these are not.
Yeah. So, and I had a couple of things I wanted to kind of bring up right off here with this one. You have a great point. So one of the issues, so there's really a few different issues with this one. The first thing is they have a non-conforming structure and a non-conforming use, and they're changing the use of the non-conforming structure. Our ordinance requires the ZBA to approve of any use change for a non-conforming structure within the shoreline zone. So that's kind of the first issue. To change the use, they need you guys to approve of it, regardless of what the use is. I think we're good there. The next thing is the first approval was for a duplex. And what they're proposing here is 2 single-family dwellings, not a duplex. So one of the issues that we're now dealing with is the land use ordinance actually doesn't allow for 2 principal structures. So that's something that's going to need to be changed. There's some ways around it, but I don't see any of those ways working in this particular situation. Kind of the most common one is One is the principal structure and one is an accessory apartment. But that accessory apartment has a bunch of requirements that you have to meet as well. Honestly, in this situation, it would be easier to just attach these two structures together somehow and call it a duplex again. The next issue is lot size. Technically, they're requesting a variance to lot size, which I don't believe was done the last time around and should have been. Technically, the ordinance requires twice the dimensional requirements per dwelling unit, and a duplex is 2 dwelling units. So you really do need twice the road frontage, twice the lot area. So they actually need a variance for road frontage as well, because there isn't enough road frontage. I don't know. I think this is it may be a corner lot. I'm not sure exactly how much they got, but that would be something we need to look at as well. And then the last thing is an oversight on my part. I'll take full ownership of it. In the shoreland zone, any variance appeal should be reviewed by DEP. Needs to be sent to DEP 20 days before the appeal hearing. And we didn't get that to DEP. So they should, I mean, and it's just barely within the state shoreland zone of 250. But I believe it is slightly within, so they would have to at least have the opportunity to comment on it. So I think we're in a situation, before you guys go too much further, where we're probably going to be having to table this until we at least get a comment back from DEP. But there may need to be some adjustments to the plan as well.
Is there anyone else? Oh, go ahead, Joanne.
Yeah, Al, it's just, I just want to make sure where we're at too in this. Okay, so back when Justin Hayward came before us, we approved a conditional use change to now a conforming use, which is residential, correct? Right. He wanted to do a duplex and thought he could if it stayed within the footprint of that current building. That was my understanding, but we granted there were no variances or anything done. So that's where I was confused about what has actually lapsed. The change to a conforming use did not lapse. That's still good.
The variance granted actually did expire. It required that a building permit be issued within a certain amount of time.
Okay.
That didn't happen. So, and I don't know exactly what it was. I can find it here and dig it out, but it was pretty clear. It did require, it had a certain time period to it.
Okay, so that made our change from a non-conforming use, a commercial use, to a residential use, that's now void. We're back. Okay, and then I'm just, so we would have to deal with that if it comes back before us again. But then also if this structure, the existing structure is torn down and they start over, then do we have to look at setbacks and everything? How does that work?
So it's a non-conforming structure and a non-conforming lot. So if they were to just tear this thing down and try and come in for a building permit, it still does require ZBA approval because they're changing the use of a non-conforming structure. And they need to keep that non-conforming status because otherwise they have to meet the setbacks of today.
Okay.
They don't want to have to do because they're going to end up with practically no building envelope. So they need to hold on to that non-conforming status.
Okay, and I just, maybe a comment. Len, you're absolutely, that was my first question too. These are 2 single-family units, which I don't believe are allowable.
That was my interpretation also.
Yeah, and then just, maybe for the applicants when they come, just a reminder, because something I haven't heard at all yet. If you're coming to request an actual variance, we need to have, and you wrote out some answers to the criteria that must be met to prove hardship. They're very strict criteria. So I encourage you, if you come before us again asking for a variance, to put a little more time to try to answer those questions. anyways, to show that there is hardship that you have not created to try to do whatever it is you're going to do going forward.
And if I can add, one thing you might want to consider, Tom, it might be too difficult to do 2 dwelling units or a duplex. You could do a single family that has one common kitchen and then kind of 2, I guess, sleeping areas that are on their own and still have it all under one roof and call it a single family. So you could possibly get creative with it so that it doesn't need the variance portion of this and just needs the change of use.
Right.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of this? Is there anyone that is opposed that would like to speak?
Mr. Chair, are we opening it to public comment?
Go ahead.
Okay, let me start with our. Mr. Hennessy, did you wish to comment?
Yes, it did. Yeah, I was at the site plan walkthrough the other day and made a handful of comments, and I was asked to repeat those and tonight. So some of the comments that Alex made was the same observations I made. What I find astounding is that we're even considering putting 2 residential units or even 1 on a 1/5 of an acre in the shoreland zone, and not the claimed half plus or minus acre that's on the surface or the subsurface wastewater disposal application. So that's my first comment, and let maybe Alex answer that one.
Can you answer that, Alex?
And the question was on building a single family home on that small of a lot, right?
Caller?
That's my question, because it is within the shoreland zoning, and I pointed that out to the other Tom, the planner, that it's all within 250 feet of the shoreland, and it's not a half acre, it's 1/5 of an acre, not 2 acres as I understand the ordinance requires.
So basically, if the ZBA approves of the change of use, this existing structure now becomes a single family dwelling for use. So it's now a non-conforming structure, non-conforming single family. So it could be demolished and rebuilt as long as it's not made any more non-conforming than it currently is. So if they went through that process, demolished the church and built a new single family that is smaller and more conforming as far as setbacks and lot coverage go, then they should be fine. But there's obviously other things that need to be met along the way, you know, wastewater and the utilities and stuff like that.
Okay, so if it's less impervious surface, I know that rule is part of a rule, and it's a brand new septic system that never existed on the lot, and you're adding driveway and parking area for at least 4 cars. It seems like there probably aren't many lots in the town of Raymond that pass that current existing things.
Can I make a comment to the caller, Mr. Hennessy?
Yes, Joanne, please.
Mr. Hennessy, I don't know if it helps or not, but just to clarify, as Alex stated in the beginning, that there are a lot of issues with the current application, so they need to go back and start over, and then we'll start over. And I just want to assure you, we will do our best to look at a lot of questions you're asking are about the ordinances, but right now we don't know what they're going to propose to know whether these violate the ordinances or not. And that's what we will look at for whatever the future proposal is. So I'm not sure if that helps you or not, because this proposal, we'll vote on if we're going to table this or not. But I think we pretty much agreed that this current proposal is not doable in this state.
Okay, I agree with all that. The one thing that I pointed out is that during the summer, that's a parking area for both all the boat traffic and trailers and the public beach. And now the proposal is to add another driveway and prevent additional, cut back on the parking that exists today. Right.
Any other comments? Any other callers, Mary?
Yes, we have two more callers, and Mr. Murch had expressed an interest in commenting on this.
Okay. Are you done, Mr. Hennessy?
Yeah, I believe there's plenty of problems here, so I'll let you people continue.
Thank you. Next caller.
Caller,
Hi.
Please identify yourself.
Hi, Abby Spicer. I own the cottage behind the church at 22 Cottage Lane. I think given all the concerns that you mentioned, that I'll hold my comment to see what comes back before the board at this point in time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You?
Still another caller, Mary?
Yes.
Okay.
Caller is not responding. David?
Yeah, thank you, Mary. So Alex and the board members have addressed all the issues that I had, so I have no comments.
All right, thank you. Let me try for the other caller. No further comment? Caller?
Yes.
Hello, do you have comment on this issue?
Yes, I do. My name is Greg Gagne. I have one of the cottages behind the church. And my question is, no matter what is accepted to be put on that lot. My name is Greg Gagne. I have one of the cottages behind the church. And my question is, no matter what is accepted to be put on that lot, will the fence be a see-through fence, or will be a solid fence that will take away the view that some of us enjoy? Will the fence be a see-through fence, or will be a solid fence that will take away the view that some of us enjoy?
Joanne?
Yeah, when Mr. Gagny, I think you said, I'm sorry.
Yes.
If that's something for us that's within our purview to address, whenever we, again, see what the next proposal will be, we'll talk about it, and you're welcome to comment on it at that point. Again, we don't have a formal proposal before us now at this time. But
Okay.
keep that question out there, and we'll see if that falls within something we can continue to look at.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all I.
Thank you. Is that the end of the comments, Mary?
That is all.
Okay, let's close the public comments, please. Tom, does Laura want to speak on the issue?
Just say your name and where you're from.
Hi, I'm Laura Segree from Freeport, Maine. We are looking forward to build a newer structure to the property. Our goal is to, make the surrounding better looking than what it is right now. And our desire is to have the structures like we submitted it, but just so that it's for privacy and for enjoyment. We feel that the look of it is better in the surrounding, and I think the use of it is also better, and that's what we're proposing. We understand that this lot is a grandfathered non-conform, but so we're trying to see what we could do with the lot that's there, but we want to make it better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition? No. I guess it's time that we take a vote on this. I have to agree with Alex, and I think I would like to make a motion that this lot size variance request is tabled until the other boards involved in the town and the state get a chance to go through this, and then the Board of Appeals will come back and vote again. Can I get a second on that?
Second.
Okay, the motion is tabled.
I think just vote on it quick, Len, before you.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor, raise their hand, please. Motion passes. And that'll conclude that business. And what we have left here, Code Enforcement Officer Communications.
Sure. And just, I guess, one final little piece on that last one. Tom, if you can get a revised plan put together pretty quick, I think we could probably get it over to DEP.
Yeah.
Like I said, if you just did a single family, it might not be something that requires their review, but depending on what you guys decide, I mean, maybe we could chat tomorrow or something and figure out how we can kind of keep this on schedule for next month.
Okay, can I ask a couple of questions or can we do that tomorrow?
Well, certainly, go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify that you as a zoning board are not allowed to approve two separate small structures as 2 units on the lot. It has to be one structure.
That's my understanding.
Same here.
And then as far as I think this is probably a DEP regulation, which I can look into, but no more impervious surface than what currently exists on the lot.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we do have a backup plan that shows a duplex unit. It's basically the same size. These two buildings pushed together with the roof line is different. We just thought that this was better for the neighborhood to have two smaller structures that match the homeowners association behind us. But we can come back with a revised plan and talk more about it then.
Yeah, Tom, if you go on the code enforcement page of the website, you can actually schedule a time tomorrow that we could have a phone conversation if you want.
Great. Thank you, Alex.
All right.
Does anyone have any questions at all? Then I make a motion that the meeting is adjourned.
Are there any code enforcement officer communications?
Nothing, I guess nothing specific. The planning board is holding a workshop in January to discuss some land use zoning amendments. Nothing, I think, that would really affect you guys. We would have one change, kind of more of an administrative clerical change to the appeals section of the ordinance, but it's nothing that really affects the process. And it sounds like we might be meeting in January. So if that's the case, I could probably give you guys a summary of some of the land use changes that the planning board's discussing in January. But other than that, that's it.
Okay, so I make the motion that the meeting is now adjourned.
Second.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.